you hear those horns, you know what time it is. It's time to play some toss. Welcome to episode 20 of the Tristain on Sports Show. Toss is your main man, Tristain Thomas, T Squared, here with you for another edition fresh out the kitchen. Thank you for joining us. So glad you are here. Great to be here. I know we missed last week. I know you were feeding for some of that truthful, opinionated, and passionate sports talk. But we weren't here for you last week, but we are back this week, and I will explain why we weren't here last week a little bit later on in the show. You know how we get things started. So let's go there. Let's go to state of the state, and let's start off in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Yes, I know. Packers season is over. What could you possibly have to talk about when the new league year hasn't begun, won't begin until March 9th? What could possibly have been transpiring with the Green Bay Packers other than them being at home, like the rest of us, watching Super Bowl 50 instead of being in Super Bowl 50? The truth is, not a whole lot is going on. Just a bit of news that we all knew for the entire season being recycled as being brand new news. Apparently, just the other day, NFL.com's Ian Rappaport reported that the Green Bay Packers would like to see Eddie Lacy lose 30 pounds. So apparently the Eddie Lacy Weightgate continues. This is not breaking news. This is not anything we did not know already. It's not something that we did not see clearly for ourselves. Like I said, you heard the jokes. People are calling him Cheeseburger Eddie. You got the creator of P90X calling him out saying, hey, I'll help you. Yeah, it's not new news. We don't know what's going on. All I know is what's going on the surface. And on the surface, I see a guy who came up fat and out of shape, was uncommitted to the team, because if you were truly committed to the team, you would have shown up in shape and been the factor back you have been for the first 2 years of your career. That to me shows commitment. If you are an athlete and you take prime care of your body to show up and be the best at your position on that field each and every single game, that's commitment. That shows me that it means a damn to you. And we did not get that from him this season. So this is nothing new. This is not breaking news. This is just them recycling something. I mean, look, why are we even sitting here talking about this with this being Super Bowl week? You guys have all the stories and then some you can handle out there in San Francisco and the St. Clara area. You have enough material to go on. You could go and get interviews from anybody. This is the 50th Super Bowl. Everybody and their mama is going to be there that had anything to do with the NFL. All the greats, all the legends, all the champions are going to be there. You can go and drum up a story from those guys. You can go and get a good interview and give us some insight on what Super Bowls were like 1 through now. But instead, we're sitting here talking about Eddie Lacy's weight. Or on the offside, and this is a little bit more of a subject for the tall sweep, we're talking about Johnny Manziel, the Browns' backup quarterback, who's going to be cut once the new league year starts. Which we know he's done this to himself, but a part of me tells me that he didn't want to be there in Cleveland to begin with. So now you got Dallas, you got the Texans, which I don't think Bill O'Brien's going to take that garbage from him, so probably not. But Jerry Jones will. Jerry Jones will more than happily take that. That was something that was discussed before. He was probably going to end up there, but they ended up picking someone else. It's just, it boggles my mind that you don't have enough to talk about as far as with it being the 50th anniversary of the Super Bowl. You got the Broncos there. You got the Panthers there. They're going to go and clash for the Super Bowl 50 title. You have all the stories in the world you could possibly handle. We're sitting here talking about Weightgate. We're sitting here talking about Eddie Lacy. Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. This is not breaking news to anyone who watched the Packers and Eddie Lacy or anything. This is not news. This is not news. This was a filler story. I guess this was something that maybe he just, it was thrown out there and he just had to be the one to report it. I don't know why he's talking about this when he's at the Super Bowl. I have no clue. I guess it's a part of being a thorough journalist. but it's not necessary, especially at this time, and especially when we know that he needs to go and lose weight. Eddie Lacy has already said he's committed to losing that weight. Mike McCarthy already mentioned that Eddie Lacy cannot play at the way he did this season. That was a direct quote from him. We know this already. We've seen this already. Why even talk about it during Super Bowl week? It is a non-story. Now, if he comes back when training camp begins in July and he's still fat and out of shape, then there's a story to be written. Not only that, he's coming up in a contract year. You don't think he's going to go and do everything he possibly can to make sure he earns some money? And then that is a whole nother can of worms. That's a whole other can of worms being open right there, because now you got people talking about his contract situation. Yes, this is the fourth and final year coming up in the 2016 season of his rookie contract. So this is it. So he either does it now, goes out there and be the back that you were the first 2 years, or you're just going to be written off. You got people talking, hey, maybe they need to go and put some weight incentives into his deal, or make sure that they put a clause in his deal that says, hey, you need to be at this weight at all times when you're playing, whatever, what have you. A lot of that crap is not going to fly, especially with the players union. But let's let the guy get a chance to get back in shape. I don't know where he was mentally to let himself get out of shape. I really don't know. Maybe there's something deeper that was going on there. I don't think any of us know. But you need to have a commitment to this team. And this team needs you. You need to be that factor back. You need to be a guy that can be that dual threat that you were the first 2 years you were in the league. We need that. We don't want Cheeseburger Eddie. Okay, we don't want that. We need the bowling ball of butcher knives, Eddie Lacy, back. The guy that nobody wanted to tackle, the guy nobody wanted to meet in the hole when he's coming through it. We need that guy back. We need that guy that can run it and that can catch it. We need that guy back. And I, for one, think that when he's in shape, and I think he will show up in shape when training camp starts later this summer, I have faith in him. I still have faith in him. You just don't go and give up on a guy who was the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year and follow that up with an even better year the year after that. This is his third year. He's got a lot of football left, a lot of big football left in him. You don't give up on a back like this. He gets his weight in control. Okay, he does that and he keeps it there. He's going to be a factor back for many years to come. And I have faith that he can do that. But the minute that he doesn't do that, then he's going to eat himself out the league. You got problems then. So I think his next deal, whatever they can do to make sure that he comes in shape, whether they give him incentives or whatever the case is, you need to do that. Because there's this little bit of me that feels that once he gets this contract, or if he gets this contract from the Packers or whoever, because he's going to get another contract, that is guaranteed. The guy is too good when he's in shape to not garner another contract. He's going to get another opportunity, okay? Whether it be with the Packers or someone else, he's going to get another contract. So deal with that. When you just hope that he is able to keep this under control. And again, we don't know what's going on with him, personally, mentally. We just don't know. Maybe there is something going on there. Maybe he needs to get to the root of that, and then he could take care of his body. We just don't know. But for all intents and purposes, this is your job, and you need to show up ready to do your job. You did not do that this season. You need to go and do that for next season. Show up and show out. That's all we can ask of Eddie Lacy. Again, I just don't know why we're even talking about this when you have even bigger issues looming for this ball club. Your offensive line, you got some free agents there. We saw how the season went. It's crazy that we're talking about a 10-6 season with a playoff win is a rough season, but here we are. It's hard to talk about Aaron Rodgers passing for over 3,800 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 8 picks, but had a 60% pass completion percentage, and he had a rough year. Your leading receiver had just over 800 yards receiving and 6 touchdown receptions? I mean, the offense as a whole struggled. His defense was a stalwart. on this ball club, the most consistent unit on this ball club, you have bigger issues to worry about than talking about something we've already known all season long. But let's turn our attention to that. Let's turn our attention to the fact that Calvin Johnson retired. And I think that that's going to be a situation like Carson Palmer, where he's going to retire and force them to trade him to a better situation. What the Lions want for him, who knows? They may ask too damn much of him. They may ask too much for him. Probably because they're the Lions and they mess everything up. They mess every damn thing up. I wouldn't want to go and play for him either if I were Calvin Johnson. The guy's still a top 10 wide receiver. You put him on a team with some talent, you're gonna go and see that because he's gonna make everybody else even better. So if I were Ted Thompson, I'd get on the phone to see what's what with that. If I were Ted Thompson, I would see what's what with Alshon Jeffrey. He's a free agent. What did Mike McCarthy say in his season-ending press conference? We spoke about this 2 weeks ago on Toss. We need big targets running down the field. Hey, he's a big target. What is he, 6'3", 6'4"? I mean, he's something like that. Calvin Johnson, another big target. You know, 6'6", 6'7", something like that. Those are two big targets. They're available. Why don't you check out and see? Everybody has this whole wait and see and draft and develop and deal and type of, thing like that. But here's my thing. You saw that the development doesn't always come when you need it, especially when you have a devastating injury to your receiving core, the likes of a Jordy Nelson, who gave everybody else room to operate. And I hate to keep rehashing this, but go back and look at the tape from last season and look at it from this season. No one was scared of Aaron Rodgers passing the football because they had no vertical threats whatsoever. Jeff Janis was not a vertical threat. Randall Cobb was not a vertical threat. Devontae Adams was just god awful. Ty Montgomery possibly could have been that, but he went down for the season. You had absolutely no vertical threats to stretch the defense and take the top off of them for guys to get that room underneath to take a small pass and make it a big play. That is where Randall Cobb is at his best, and this is why you need Jordy Nelson back, a healthy Jordy Nelson. This is why you need a legit number 2 on the other side of him, or 1A or 1B, whatever way you want to put it. A guy like Calvin Johnson would work. A guy like Alshon Jeffrey would work. Both of those guys are proven, and they're big targets, the likes of which Mike McCarthy spoke about in his season-ending press conference. You put Randall Cobb back in the slot, and you develop one of these younger guys. Will it be Jeff Janis? He's going to make this squad based on special teams. I think he's proven his worth there. Jared Abbrederis, you've seen that he has some ability. His route running was crisp. He's just a guy who can't stay healthy. I think they're developing, but they're not developing at the pace that everyone wants them to or expected them to. It's just a lot slower. So you can bring those guys along a little bit slower when you have 3 legitimate receivers. Are you going to bring James Jones back? I know Aaron Rodgers wants him back, but given his play after those first few games, he was extremely inconsistent. But then again, so was the entire offense. So can't you speak to that being him being inconsistent? Because Rodgers was inconsistent as well. Or is it just more of the same from everyone on offense? There's so many questions on this team. There's so much that you need to sort through and figure out. That's more of the intriguing story for me. Not talk about Eddie Lacy's weight when we've already seen that he played out of shape and was just god awful. We knew that already. That's not news. Tell me what we're going to do with this team. Tell me, to all of the knee-jerk reactors and the doomsdayers, stop it. We don't need to tear this whole thing down. We really don't. This was a case of guys being hurt, guys not having horrible years, really all at once, with the exception of the defense. The defense was good. They were the reason why you were in a lot of these games with the chance to win them, because they held the other team off, and you guys just continued not to put anything up on the board. So this defense, they'll only get better. But this offense, a lot of people had horrible years. They were injured, and everyone was just, like I said, horrible years and being injured, that does not equal success. It just doesn't. It doesn't matter who you are. It is not conducive to being successful. So tell me what we're going to do offensively. Tell me what we're going to do on the offensive line, receiver. I think running back could be fine. They have to get James Starks back. He's an excellent number 2 punch in the 1-2 punch. That's more intriguing to me. Not talking about Eddie Lacy's weight and P90X creator offering to train him and Lacy being committed to the weight loss program in the offseason. Obviously, we'll keep tabs on that, but tell me some more intriguing stuff. That's just where my head is on that one. So Eddie Lacy, the Packers apparently want him to lose 30 pounds. We'll see. It'll be something that we'll keep up to date on, but I'll be more up to date when this new league year starts and see what Ted Thompson kind of brokers and does with that, and as well as the draft coming up in, what is that, April, May, one or two? That's more intriguing for me, and I'll keep my eye on that. We're moving on the state of the state to the Milwaukee Bucks. Last night, that game was right there for them. They played the Sacramento Kings. I did not think that there was any scenario in which we would have lost that game. They did not have DeMarcus Cousins. Yeah, as a Bucks, you were without John Henson and OJ Mayo yet again. He continues to have problems with that hamstring, but there was no inkling in my mind, in my brain, that we were going to lose that game to the Kings. I thought we were going to win that one. It was going to be a competitive game. I definitely felt that. You can see the Kings, they've been a little bit inconsistent, but they've been far better as of late than they were all of last season and kind of their start this season. So I did not think we were going to lose that game, but we did. We did, and it's in the same fashion. The game is right there for you to take. And they played sloppy. They had 12 turnovers in the third quarter alone. They couldn't make a shot to save their lives. And the defense was non-existent. And it continues to be non-existent. It's this type of play. And the same thing happened in the Miami game days prior. The game was right there for them to win. And pretty much Dwayne Wade went and took him from them. He made a hell of a shot on their offensive end and went and took the ball away from them on the other end. It's incredible to me that they can play. And the Bucks have put together some good basketball for maybe like a couple of quarters, and then it just disappears. Like, you get a guy who gets going in the first half, like Jabari Parker got off to a scorching start. I believe this was in the Miami game last week. And they forgot about him in the second half. He was 6 of 10 in the first half, 1 for 3 in the second half. The man took 3 shots after taking 10 shots in the first half. He took 3 shots in the second half. Greg Monroe, same thing last night. Got off to a scorching start, 16 points, like 5 rebounds. In the second half, they completely forgot about him. It was no adjustments made by the Kings defense or in the previous game by the Heat defense. They simply forgot those guys existed, and they were the ones who got off to the scorching starts. It's this kind of play that is maddening. It's maddening. But it's a lot more than that. People want to look at, the reason why they can't win is because they can't shoot. Here's the thing. They're 5th in the entire NBA in field goal percentage. Think about that. They're 5th in the NBA in field goal percentage. And they are at this point 10 games under 500. I do not have the Trailblazers' final game score yet. They may very well be 11 games under 500 at this point. Last I checked, they were down 7 to the Blazers. But you would think if you're in the top 10 in field goal percentage, you're going to be over 500. And they're not. Now, I got into a discussion on Twitter, and the guy was telling me that, hey, how's that working out for them being 4th in the league? At that point, they were 4th in the league in field goal percentage. They slipped down to 5th. How's that working out for them? And the reason why they shoot that much, that highly of a percentage, is because it's mostly dunks. And to which all I could do was just shake my head. That's all I could do is just shake my head. The Bucks do not dunk that much. I mean, you see some highlight reel dunks from Giannis, and you've seen some from Jabari. Those are really the only two that you really seen any highlight dunks from, and it's not like they get them every single game. Greg Monroe doesn't go up and dunk much. The guy likes to lay it up. The little bunnies. That's what he does. I mean, he went and got it last night in that game with the alley-oop, which was nice to see. It's nice to see him get up and put it down. But this field goal percentage is not based on dunks. They lead the NBA in post touches per game at 22.5. They get it done in the post, with especially, and most of it due to Greg Monroe. You've seen Jabari playing on the block a little bit more. Giannis can play on the block a little bit. That is where it comes from. They can hit that mid-range jumper. They can get into the paint. They lead the league in paint points in the paint per game. So they're sticking to what they do extremely well. They're a mid-range team. They're a slashing team. They get into the paint and they score in the paint like nobody's business. Nobody else is matching them. They lead the league in points in the paint every game. The problem is that they have a lack of three-point shooting, which we knew coming into the season. And now with the fact Jared Bayless was highly inconsistent except for tonight's game because, again, I don't have the final score, but last checking, Bayless was 5 for 5 for 11 points. But he's been struggling, been inconsistent from three. Chris Middleton's been inconsistent from three. He had that hot stretch, and now he's back into a funk again. At one point tonight, he was 0 for 7 from the field. I mean, he's just gone back into that MIA slump that he had at the beginning of the year. Grievous Vasquez not being healthy, him being in a shooting slump when he originally was playing at the beginning of the season. Rashad Vaughn, the rook, he doesn't get enough time to be much of a factor, but these past couple of games, he's been hot. He's been hot from three, and he's really been shooting the ball extremely well, but Jason Kidd doesn't play him enough for him to be a factor. Now, I think he should play him a little bit more, especially to get him some time, let him grow, let him gain his confidence as a shooter and as an NBA player, and see what you got in him. But Jason Kidd likes to jumble his lineup so much and plays certain guys so much that you just don't know who's going to play on a night-to-night basis. And I think that's another problem. But your lack of three-point shooting, your lack of rebounding, which is just horrendous. You would think with a guy like Greg Monroe down there and the athleticism of a Giannis and a Jabari, that those guys, John Henson, you think those guys would be able to go and get the ball. And every single time there's a missed shot, I see flat feet. Guys are flat-footed. They're not going after the ball. It's disgusting to watch. People say they don't box out, but really, honestly, throughout the game, hardly anybody boxes out anymore. You know, you have to go and make an effort to go and get that basketball. And I don't see that. They're always flat-footed. The other team is tipping it to themselves or tipping it to their team, and they just get crushed on the boards every single night. It's ridiculous. So lack of three-point shooting, your lack of rebounding, your lack of defense. We've gone over this time and time again. This defense is nowhere near where it was last year when it was one of the league leaders. The reason why you had a 26-game turnaround was because nobody could score on you. You defended every single position extremely well. You don't have that this season. There's not the same type of effort and tenacity going into that, even though Jason Kidd is saying, I'm putting an emphasis on that. We don't see that product on the court, dude. You can talk about it all you want to, but until this team starts to be about it, it's lip service. And you're going to have a lot of pissed off, frustrated fans. Your lack of a bench is another thing. And again, you have injuries all across the board. Jared Bayless, guy's been inconsistent, but he's been really your big spark off the bench. John Henson, he's not a guy that's going to get you a bunch of scoring off of the bench, but he's a guy that can get you rebounds and block shots. He leads the league in block shots per game off the bench. He's a guy that could do it for you on the defensive end and rebounding, but you don't look for him to get you 10 points coming off the bench. Grievous Vasquez, a guy who's been injured. O.J. Mayo is a guy they so desperately need, but he has been having more difficulty with that hamstring than I can ever remember. He hasn't been playing for multiple games now. All of that hurts your bench. We have a bunch of guys who are injured, guys who are inconsistent. Chris Copeland, I don't know why they signed him. I mean, you don't play him, and when he has played, he has not been good. It just really is just a realization of where we are as an organization. We really shouldn't have had this year last season. And last season's 41-41 record and 6th seed in the East should have come this season. Should have been a natural progression going upward. Instead, You're going backwards. And it's so crazy to me because it's almost entirely the same exact team coming back. Yes, you don't have Jaja anymore. Yes, you don't have Jared Dudley anymore. We get that. But you made moves, you made trades, and these guys just haven't been able to stay healthy, and these guys have not been consistent. It's the mark of a young team, and you hate to use that because it doesn't take youth to get you effort. It just does. It doesn't matter how old you are. Effort is ageless, and they are not putting in the effort defensively. Offensively, there's too many people this team wants to be too unselfish. You need somebody who's going to go in there and say, get out of my way. It's crunch time. I'm going to be one to bring us back. Just get on my back. I'll take you there. If you're going to play this kind of a system, that is what you need. Now, we had a lively discussion about this weeks ago on Home Court Sports, and we were saying, hey, they need a 20-point per game score. I'm like, well, if you're playing the same system that you're playing last season, you don't need a 20-point per game score. If you're going to get down and get after it defensively like they did, and if you're going to share the basketball offensively, you've seen what it did. They were a non-losing team. They went 41 up, 41 down. They were a 6th seed in the East. It can only grow from there. But since they're playing almost kind of a different offense, and not really, but it's just a different feel for the team because you have different players. So you introduced Greg Monroe. That really changes the dynamic of what type of team you have to be in order to utilize his skills the best. So, yeah, maybe now they need a 20-point per game scorer, a guy that can hit the three, a guy that can hit mid-range, that can drive, that can be that creator and get the ball out to other guys who can shoot. This is something they're going to have to address. And this is the thing that scares me. I don't know. Maybe they pressed the panic button. I know a lot of fans are pressing the panic button already. They're thinking that we need to break up the starting five and all that. And I'm not sure that we need to break up the starting five. But some moves are going to have to be made. There's no way around that. You're going to have to move someone. And I'm not saying it has to be from that starting five. But given what has transpired and what's going on, I think there is a move imminent. And I think there may be a move imminent before the trade deadline, February 18th. I would not be surprised if someone gets moved. And I don't think it's going to be a Jabari or a Giannis or a Greg Monroe or a Chris Middleton. MCW possibly, maybe a couple of those guys off the bench, Miles Plumlee, it's somebody from the bench that's deep down there that doesn't really get that type of time. This is not a season in which the Bucks are going to go to the playoffs. We said that here on Toss weeks ago. There was a little bit of hope when Prunty took over and they were really playing well and had that bit of a little bit of a winning streak, but now that's dashed. Even though the rest of the East is kind of coming back down to earth, those hopes are dashed. You would have to go on an absolute tear, the likes of what you did when you went 46-36, and John Salmons came through the door and really took you guys to the playoffs that season. That's the type of tear you would need. You're 20-30. You have 32 games remaining. You would have to win. I think there was some absurd number put out there. You would have to win 26 of your last 32 to make the playoffs. There's like 5 teams you would have to jump. I don't foresee that happening. I just do not foresee that happening. That is not going to happen, folks. So you're out of the playoffs. You just have to come to that realization. I don't think the players think that. I don't think Jason Kidd is preaching that. But me as a fan and as a realistic fan of this squad, the fork's been stuck in you for a few weeks here, maybe even longer than that. I do not see playoffs for the squad, and who knows? Crazier things have happened. The Colorado Rockies won like 23 of the last 27 games or something like that to make the playoffs, and that was a year in which they went to the World Series. Who knows? I mean, I know baseball and basketball are 2 different games. I get it. But who knows what can happen in sports? Guys can get absolutely. Hey, the Warriors, that last check, they were 44-4. They've got a legit chance at beating the 72-10 record set by the 95-96 Bulls. I didn't think we'd be even having a team in that discussion in my lifetime ever again. But those guys are legitimately in that discussion. They're at 4 losses out of their 48 games. So who knows what can happen? Do we have a team that's as good as that? I think talent-wise, we have the talent. We just don't have the consistency on both ends of the floor. I think that's the only thing missing. We went head-to-head with those guys and beat them, gave them their first loss. Would have hung 2 losses on them if they didn't have what happened to them in the past 2 games. Just a collapse in the fourth quarter. Turnovers, not making shots, just not giving great effort on defense. That's been the story all season long. So you're not going to make the playoffs. So now you got to figure out what do you have and who's going to be here for the future. Your motto, your slogan is own the future. You're making moves to own the future. And I have no doubt that with the talent that we have, you can very well own the future but you have to stay the course. But I think now it's evaluation time. I think now you have to figure out who's going to be here and who's going to be gone. Again, I feel like it's just something in me is just saying that there's a trade that's going to happen again before the trade deadline this season. We had the MCW and Brandon Knight trade last season. I think there's something imminent coming before the trade deadline, February 18th this season. I know patience is frustrating. I get it. I get frustrated watching these guys because you can see what they can do. You saw it last season. You saw flashes of it this season. They can be so good if they gave consistent, fiery effort on both ends of the floor consistently. But they don't. And this is the type of team that you have, and you have to deal with that. Patience is frustrating, but patience is needed with this team. Let's finish up the state of the state, and let's talk a little bit of Milwaukee Brewers baseball. Yes, folks, the Milwaukee Brewers have made it back to toss because pitchers and catchers report a little bit later this month to begin spring training. Last we spoke about the Brewers. We spoke about Adam Lind being dealt, which I said that he's the most logical choice, and we said we were waiting what's going to happen with Lucroy, and really there's nothing on the Lucroy front, nothing of note as far as being traded. We know that one of the teams that are interested in a trade for Jonathan Lucroy are the Washington Nationals. I keep hearing they're the leading candidate. There's many other teams in the running. I think there's something like 8 teams in the running that could possibly pull the trigger for a trade for Jonathan Lucroy and give GM David Stearns what he wants for the franchise for Lucroy. But the thing is, Jonathan Lucroy has a list of teams that he cannot be traded to, and the Nationals are one of those teams on that list. I don't know why he wouldn't want to be traded there because their pitching staff is quite far ahead of the Brewers' pitching staff at this point. You got a chance to go with a contending team. I mean, yeah, they had a down year last season, but I think they'll bounce back this upcoming season. So, he has his reasons for not wanting to go out there. I don't know what they are. I haven't spoke to him. It would be nice to, but I haven't spoken with him, so I don't know what his reasons are for not wanting to go out there. But he has multiple teams on the no-trade list, and the Washington Nationals are one of them. So is a trade imminent for Jonathan Lucroy? Who knows? At this point, you just don't know, especially with David Stearns, who's been an enigma and continues to be an enigma. I don't know. He knows what type of team he knows what type of team he wants to build, but I'm looking at all the transactions, and we had another transaction. They traded Gene Segura to the Arizona Diamondbacks for Chase Anderson, a starting righty, right-hand pitcher, and infielder Aaron Hill, and $6.5 million of cash, as well as a minor leaguer. Shortstop is so stacked in this organization. That Segura trade didn't really bother me. If anything, it was the right thing to do because, again, you're so stacked at shortstop in this organization. You're not really worried about that. Plus, Segura has not been good since his rookie season, which was also his all-star season. So he's been on the decline ever since that. So moving him, I have no problem with it, especially when this is a position of depth for them. So that was a no-brainer trade. You got a pretty decent starting righty and Chase Anderson. He doesn't have numbers that are going to blow the barn doors off of you. He's like 2 games over 500. He's got an ERA over 4. I don't know if that was his last season or if it was his career stats, but he's decent. I think he's going to immediately go into the rotation. But you don't know what type of team he's trying to build. Is he trying to do what they're doing down in Houston? Is he trying to build a team like the Kansas City Royals, the world champions? I just don't know what type of team that Stearns are trying to put together. And it's just as a sports junkie, as a guy, a sports journalist, as a guy who does a podcast weekly, as a guy who puts feelings out on the Toss Facebook page. That's Tion Sports Show, facebook.com/Tion Sports Show. Thought I'd get that in there really quick. It's just frustrating that you don't know what direction that he's trying to take the team in, what type of team he's trying to build. And you know what I mean. You have some teams that are just power teams. They're meant to hit the home run. A lot of Cincinnati Reds ball clubs are like that. They're just meant to mash the ball. You have guys who are going to play good defense and put the ball in play, steal bases, like the world champion Kansas City Royals. What direction is Stearns trying to really go in? We just don't know, and I don't think we're really going to know for a few years here. He's stripping this entire thing down, and he's very pleased with how his offseason is transpiring. He's getting the trades that he wants. He's getting the players that he wants. He's getting the prospects that he wants. Is he going to use these guys for trade pieces? Are these guys going to be a factor in the organization in years to come? You just don't know. I'm not looking for them to have a winning season, not for the next few seasons, I don't think, because they're tearing this entire thing down, which is the right thing to do. Even Mark Antanasio, the Brewers owner, has admitted as much as that, resetting the roster every single year in a win-now mode is not good. Stripping this whole thing down and having depth within your farm system and a constant influx of talent coming up that's homegrown, and you could be competitive for many, 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 many years. You're in a tough division. I mean, you got the Cardinals, you've got the Cubs who are good again, folks. Believe it or not, they're good again. You got the Pirates; they're not going anywhere. You are playing in an incredibly tough division. You have to do this, and if you were going to do it, now was the time. They're doing it. Some of these transactions, I completely understand. They're stockpiling talent in areas that you did not have before. But what direction are you going in? What kind of a team are you trying to build? What moves are you going to make? And Stearns continues to be an enigma, and I think he loves it, but it frustrates the rest of us. So we're just going to keep an eye on that. Again, pitchers and catchers report later this month. It's almost that time again, y'all. It's almost the time again to go down to Miller Park. All those tailgates, all those brats, it's going to be real good, and I'm looking forward to that. But we're not quite there yet. We got about a foot of snow out here that just dropped today, so you can only look forward to the boys of summer coming out and giving us a reason to be outside with those tailgates and those grills and good drinks, good fun, good people, and a young, hungry building ball club. And that's the state of the state. There's no real Packers news. I mean, they're in the off season. The new league year doesn't start till March 9th. So until that happens, we're really not going to have a whole lot to talk about with those guys. We're watching just like everybody else. It's going to be quiet on all fronts from there. The Bucks, they continue to be an inconsistent ball club. They're not going to make the playoffs. So it's now time to evaluate these guys, see who's going to really, truly be a part of this future. And I think there's a trade imminent this season. You heard it here first. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But something is just telling me there's probably going to be a trade. I don't know for who. It's not going to be it may be Michael Carter-Williams. If anybody gets plucked out of it, it'll be Michael Carter-Williams from that starting five. But I don't think anybody from starting five is going to be moved. But I do believe there's going to be a trade imminent. And the Brewers, they're making a lot of transactions. David Stearns, the GM, is very happy with how his offseason is going with all the trades and transactions that they've made. But it continues to be a frustrating enigma for a guy like me. But I'm waiting to see the results. Coming up on Toss, we're going to run the Toss sweep. And you know we got to talk Super Bowl 50. Come on. It is Sunday. Get hyped, man. The Packers may not be in it, but it's still the Super Bowl, and damn it, I'm going to be all over it. And I told you guys there was a reason why there was no toss last week. We're going to get into that as well. We'll be right back. TossShow.libsyn.com is your place to get each and every single episode of Toss ever made. So why don't you guys go over to Libsyn and you type in TOSSHOW.LIBSYN.com. That's TossShow.libsyn.com. Make sure you make some time to play some toss. Welcome back to Toss, everybody. Your friendly neighborhood T-Square Tristan Thomas here with you, and it is time for us to run the Toss Sweep. We have the game coming up this Sunday, Super Bowl 50. Now I know us Packer fans thought that the Packers would be in it, and how fitting would it be that we won the first one, the second one, and now we're going to win the 50th Super Bowl. How serendipitous would that be? How poetic, how much poetic justice would that have been that we did that? It would just fit. The story just writes itself. The first team to ever do it wins the 50th. It's almost like it's a rebirth, a restart. But that has not come to be. We get the Denver Broncos with the #1 defense in the NFL against the Carolina Panthers, who have a hell of a defense in their own right and one of the top offenses in all of the NFL. So who wins? Well, you know, the Denver Broncos are coming in with Peyton Manning at the helm. And we all know that Peyton Manning is not what Peyton Manning used to be even a couple seasons ago. We know this, but he's still a man. He's got a ring. He's been to 3 Super Bowls overall. He's been there. He's done that. It's the reason why you make the move from Brock Osweiler to him when playoff time comes around, because he's been there. He's done that. He can get the job done. This defense is going to have to go and get it for him, though. This defense has been the heart and soul of this ball club all season long, and they're going to have to do it for one more game if they expect to come out hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. Now, for the Panthers, there's a couple of questions. Can you run the football effectively against this #1 ranked defense? Cam Newton's going to have to run the football. Can the Denver defense even stop him? This is a guy who accounted for 45 touchdowns in the regular season, 10 rushing, 35 passing. He's been dynamic. And then, and side note, everybody talking about him dancing and having fun. I would much rather have my quarterback dancing after he makes a big play, or dancing when his teammates go and make a big play and leading this team to a 17-1 record if you include playoff wins. I would much rather have that than my quarterback being like Johnny Manziel, constantly in contact with the police, constantly in the news for all of the wrong reasons. Anybody that's got a problem with Cam Newton dancing and his teammates dancing, then go and stop him. Go and stop them. That's the only way you're going to stop them from dancing. Go and stop them. Go and do something for them. You know, go and do something against them. And the fact of how much of a double standard this is when you get guys like Tom Brady who goes out there, he pumps his fist, or you get when Aaron Rodgers started doing his championship belt celebration, which became the discount double check, quote unquote. Everybody just, oh man, they just love the game. But when Cam Newton goes and he dabs or he does a little dance and he's smiling with the towel and say, oh, they got a problem with him. Oh, it's a problem. Yeah, you shouldn't be acting. You're the quarterback. You shouldn't act. Stop it. You're so blatant, you're stupid. Let the man have fun. I would much rather him having fun and leading this team, which is what he is doing. He is playing at an extremely high level, lifting his teammates to do the same thing. They have one loss all year long, 17-1. Got a chance to go to 18-1 and win the Super Bowl, which is something that the Patriots could never do. So can the Denver defense stop Cam Newton? Will the Panthers be able to run the football effectively? Because we know what their secondary is. They're facing an extremely tough secondary up against Denver. Can they go and do it? Can Carolina do it? Or will it be Denver that does it? I sat down and I went back and forth about this game. The thing that puts it over the edge for me, they both come in with great defenses. Let's not forget this. These two defenses absolutely get after it. Yes, they're both banged up. We know this, but they still play defense at an extremely high level. The thing that puts it over the top for me is the fact that Carolina has a bit better of an offense than does Denver. So the winner for me of Super Bowl 50 this Sunday is the Carolina Panthers. It's the Carolina Panthers. Now, don't get me wrong. I would not be surprised if Denver wins it because their defense has been good. People have been counting this defense out all postseason long, and they've just continued to show up. Wade Phillips has been calling fantastic games for this defense. Make no mistake about it. But I just think that Carolina's offense will be able to make a few more plays, a few more big plays than will Denver's offense, and that's going to put it over the top. Carolina Panthers win their first ever Super Bowl this coming Sunday in Super Bowl 50. I can't wait. I'm a football junkie. I'm a sports junkie, period, but it doesn't matter to me who's playing in the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl, man. It's the guys going after a world championship. All these months of hard work, this grind, constantly being in pain after games, playing short schedules, the travel schedule, the practice schedule, game tape, putting all that hard work and sacrifice into it is going to culminate in a championship for one of these teams. And I enjoy watching that because you do not have a tomorrow. No matter what, nobody's playing next week. This is it. You're going to put your all into it. You leave it all out there on the field, and we'll see who's the best. I got the Carolina Panthers winning Super Bowl 50 this Sunday. Should be a great game. Again, two good defenses. Cam Newton playing at a high level. He's got his whole team playing at a high level. The Sheriff, Peyton Manning, he's back at it. He's got another crack at it. Might be his last. Who knows what could happen? But that's my prediction is the Carolina Panthers come out with that. So now I want to do something a little bit different. I'm not going to sit and I'm not going to talk about sports and this part of the toss sweep. Because like we said, the toss sweep is something that we can talk about anything in. We can be honest about anything in. It's a safe haven. It's something that we discuss any and everything in. It's that kind of forum. Last week, I did not do toss. There was no toss last week. Now, for some of you who follow my personal Facebook page, you know exactly why. But for those of you who do not, I'm going to tell you why. Last Tuesday, I decided to go down to Madison, Wisconsin, and stay at the wonderful Madison Concourse Hotel and Governor's Club. It was fantastic. Top-notch service, right downtown, blocks away from the state capitol. A beautiful facility, beautiful, just beautiful all the way around. Great service. Enjoyed my stay. I got down there and I brought my books and made sure I could get a little bit of studying in. But I put out there that I was pursuing my dream. I was going after it. Wednesday was an event put on by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association, the WBA, and it was a job/career fair. Now, make no mistake about it. If I'm doing a sports show and I'm doing it weekly, you can hear the love that I have for every sport that I speak of and for life in general and for doing this. And I truly enjoy doing this show for all of you every single week. But the thing is, I would love to do this 5 days a week and just put my feelings out there and have a bunch of guests and do it on a high level. And that's why I went down there. I went down there with all intentions on garnering a position that was going to allow me to do what I'm doing right now on a daily basis and do it on a high level. You can't be afraid to pursue your dreams. You have to put some action into it. I did the video and I ended it with, at some point you have to stop talking about it and being about it. I sign my show off the same exact way each and every single week because when I say dreams don't catch themselves, get up, get out, and get after it. I don't say that just because it's a cool line or I'm trying to sound profound. It's something I truly believe in, and it's something that I live. I live by that, and I want others to go and live by that. You should not be afraid of going and pursuing your dreams. You should never be afraid to go and do that. So I went down to the WBA career fair with all intents and purposes on garnering a position, and had some great conversations with people. And a lot of these stations and entities, some were looking for talent, and some weren't looking for talent. They're looking for something completely different, internships and things like that, which I'm not knocking the internship. Would love to do one. But I was down there with my mindset on garnering a position, or at least having some dialogue that will lead into that. So I met with the first person, and I handed off my resume, and we had a great discussion. But I noticed in the booth next to him was a company, and I'm not going to name them by name. I'm not going to give them that type of publicity. And I noticed the person from the pictures, because I do research on the companies that I apply to, and get to know their history and what type of broadcasting they do. And, it's just really good to know who you're applying to. So I had actually applied to this station a couple of months prior, sent my hair check and sent my resume, and I sent in my cover letter. It was all good. And then he comes back with the next day after I sent that and said, "Hey, I'm just not expanding right now. It's just not the right time for it, but I'm definitely going to keep your items on file." Pretty much a no. And I can handle rejection. That's fine. It's not gonna dim my fire one way or the other. So I go over and I speak to him, and this is the owner and the president of the station. So I'm speaking to him, and the first thing that I was put off by was the fact that this guy did not even give me the decency to give me a firm handshake, nor stand up and look me in the eye. When I went to any other booth, if a person was sitting down and they were typing something, doing a little bit of work, they would immediately get up and meet you with a smile and a greeting and a firm handshake, and you would engage in discussion. This guy met me with a fist bump. Now, look, if that's your deal, that's fine, but at least stand up and look me in the eye when you give me the fist bump. I can handle that. Everybody's got their own quirks and things like that. So that was put off number one. The entire time he spoke to me, he sat down and was just looking at me instead of just being eye to eye with me, giving me that. And I take that as a respect deal for me. And I said, "Hey, Mr. So-and-so," because again, I'm not even going to give him that type of publicity. I'm not going to, put him out there on blast like that. But I will tell you what he did. "Hey, Mr. So-and-so, I sent my name is Tristain Thomas. I sent a resume to you just last week, or this was a couple months ago, and you said you weren't expanding at this time, which just wasn't the right time. And I was just wondering if there was if there was anything that I did wrong, or what was about your station? What are you looking for exactly?" And he was like, "Well, no, there's nothing you did wrong, and I just didn't feel like it was the right time to expand." And and I asked him, I was like, "Well, are you sure that are there any tips that you can give me that that I can improve upon, or for the next employer that I apply to? Just really want to get it from someone who is the business owner, and what you're looking for, having been in the business for a long time. We're just really trying to have a good conversation, pick his brain, see what I can do better, so I can make my dreams come true." And through the dialogue, I just really finally got out of him about the fact this is what he said to me. "Well, quite honestly, I just hire a mature staff. People who've been doing this for a long time. That's what I do. Just handle rejection and move on." And I thought I was like, wow. I wasn't sitting here begging for a job from you, man. I wasn't sitting here begging for anything from you. I was sitting here simply trying to get an evaluation on things that maybe I need to do better, so I can go and garner a position that I love to do. And you dissing me on the slide. So I just met him. I just simply said, "Well, I think it's a good thing that we're not doing business together." And I walked away. I could have caused the scene. I could have called this man out of his name for sneak dissing me, or not even sneak dissing me, really pretty much just flat out dismissing me and dissing me to my face. I could have done all of that. But you know what? I'm better than that. I'm bigger than that. There's going to be people like that on your journey. There's going to be people like that who are just going to try and be your barrel of crabs. When you get to the top, they pull you down. And I refuse to be in a barrel of crabs. I refuse to let guys like that, people like that, deter me from going after my dreams. I am a sports personality. I'm a sports journalist. That is what I do. It may not be what I do to garner a paycheck, but it is what I do. And it is going to be something that is going to feed my family someday. It is going to be something that I'm going to do for a living. And you know what? I'm going to do it with a smile, and I'm going to do it at a high level. So I'm not going to let the opinion of a little man who felt the need to say some garbage like that to my face tear me down. And the thing is, at least he said it to my face. At least he didn't say it behind my back. I guess I got to give him props for that. But the point is, don't be deterred by people like that. Don't be worried about one no when your yes is out there. So I'm going to continue on this journey. I'm going to continue applying. I'm going to continue honing my craft. I'm going to continue on this journey. And I'm going to do this at a high level, regardless of what anybody says. And if you have something that you want to do, you have dreams, you want to go and do it, then do not be deterred by someone like that. You're going to get a lot of no's, but all it takes is one yes. And when you get that yes, you already know what to do with it. You're going to take it all the way. You're going to take it to the top, because this is what you do. This is what you have practiced. This is what you have yearned for, what you have prayed for, what you worked so hard for. All it takes is one yes. And you have to keep searching for it. Don't be deterred by the no's. Don't be deterred by people that are going to try and knock you down and knock you off your path and tell you you're not good enough. Because quite simply, they don't matter. Go after your dreams. Go after them, and go after them with great intensity. Because that is what your dreams deserve. This is Toss. Well, y'all, it's time for me to get on up out of here. This was episode 20 of the Tristain on Sports Show Toss. Man, it seems just like yesterday that we were just doing the first show, and man, how far have we come? 20 episodes, man, it's hard to fathom, but we're here. Hey, you guys know the Facebook page, facebook.com/T on Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show. You know my Twitter by now, at the20double on Twitter. Again, at the20double on Twitter. Tweets, live games, controversy, arguments, debates, great discussion. Hey, I keep it entertaining on there. So again, at the20double on Twitter. You know the Libsyn page. That is tossshow.libsyn.com. TOSSSHOW.LIBSYN.com. That is where you can find each and every single episode of Toss ever made. We're also on iTunes and Stitcher, so there is no reason that you cannot make some time to play some Toss on any device you have. So make sure you hit up iTunes, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a rating. Do the same with Stitcher. Make sure you make some time to play some Toss. But as I said before, it's time for me to get on up out of here. This is your main man, Tristain Thomas, reminding all of you that dreams don't catch themselves. Get up, get out, and get after it. Until next week, so long from Toss.